All right. I'm not going to play anything in this video. I simply wanted my story as to why I'm so obsessed with the Mortal Kombat arcade machines to get out. Hopefully this will reach the person that got me so into this game without even realizing he did it. So my experience with Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 eventually, and then 3 and so on. Mostly these ones, mostly MK1 and 2, I became flippin' obsessed with this stuff. When I was 13 years old, it was 1992, I believe, and I was at a local roller rink. And I remember I was roller skating, and there was an area on the side with arcade games. And I remember seeing a crowd, probably 10, maybe 15 kids all gathered around this machine. So I got off the rink and I wheeled my way up to this arcade cabinet, this crowd of people. And sure enough, Mortal Kombat 1 was being played. There was a guy playing it, and I still remember his name. So I was 13 at the time, and I still remember this. He doesn't even know me, but I knew his sister from school, and it was her older brother. I guess he worked at the roller rink. And so anyways, he was playing, and I'm just looking, and I thought, oh, okay, another Street Fighter clone, but this one looks really cool. The the graphics being digitized and it being real people. And so I'm watching it. He was using Sub-Zero, and sure enough, Finish Him pops up, and I remember him fighting against Liu Kang, and he performed the finishing move, ripped the head off with the spinal cord, and I felt like this is something I shouldn't be watching. And because I was young, violence in video games wasn't a thing back then at the time, and so when I saw that, it was mind-blowing. So that stuck with me. It stuck with me. I'm 43 now, and that was 30 years ago, a little over 30 years, and I still remember it. And I went back to that roller rink a few times to watch it being played and to play it myself, but I stunk at the time at that, and I never really got good at that. There weren't too many MK1 arcade cabinets around the city that I was in, so I didn't see it too often until it was released on the home consoles and whatnot. And I remember I ended up playing it on the Game Boy, and we ended up getting it for the Super Nintendo eventually, but I was so obsessed with the game, it stuck with me. Even though I hadn't played it too much, it still stuck with me. And so when I did get it for the Game Boy, I loved it. Even though that version is absolute garbage, at that age, I loved it. And so then Mortal Kombat 2 came out a year later or so, I believe. 93, so I was 14, 15. I was in Toronto, and there was a huge arcade downtown. And from the sidewalk, the doors were all windows. They were all window doors, so they opened them up. So there was a huge entranceway to this arcade. And I remember there was probably 4 or 5 MK2 cabinets. So it just came out. I didn't know it came out. There was no internet or anything back then to say it came out. And I remember seeing MK2. I remember seeing this right here. And so I looked, and again, huge crowd of people. But it looked, this time it was more like young, like early 20s kind of thing, kind of crowd. And so I remember seeing it and dying to play it. But there were guys playing it who knew what they were doing already at the time. It had just come out. And the first move that I saw, or the first finisher I saw, was Liu Kang's Friendship. All you could hear, the sound, the volume was cranked, and people were playing, but like Liu Kang was just so dominant. His voice and his screams and everything were so loud and dominant. And the first thing I saw him do was a Friendship, which to me again was mind-blowing. I was like, man, they added these dance moves or whatever, because he was dancing, so I thought maybe every character danced or something. But then after that, I saw Liu Kang turn into a dragon and eat his opponent, and again, I was blown away. I knew I had to play this game. So there was yeah, 4 or 5 arcade cabinets out front. We went into the arcade, and then there was another two like in the back of this arcade, and I actually got playing that. And probably like everyone else, I used Scorpion, Sub-Zero, you know, characters from the first one. But I was blown away by the roster, the colors, everything. It was just so incredible. And so I tried playing with Sub-Zero and whatnot. And like everyone else, I got through the first two characters, and then just got my butt handed to me, and continued to get my butt handed to me. I was so hyped about the game, however, but I wasn't close enough at the, like, with how old I was and whatnot, that I could just go down and play it as often as I wanted. Now, my main memory with Mortal Kombat 2, and hopefully there's Canadians on here watching this from my area. So there was a local bowling alley, and it was a Saturday afternoon. I walked down there with my brother, and we went in there, and there was an older guy. I think he was older, probably mid-20s, because at the time, again, I was only 14 or so. So to me, he was older, but he looked like he was mid-20s. This guy was with his buddy, and I went to play. I played him once. He destroyed me, and so then I just watched him play. There wasn't a crowd around him or anything this time. It was just him and his buddy, and then me and my brother. And I was watching him play, and this guy knew the game like the back of his hand, and he was doing the trick with Scorpion that I learned so many years ago, way back then, where he would just duck and then jump. But he never explained that to me. He was just doing it, and when I watched him do the duck and jump and have the opponent jump into him, and then he'd throw the harpoon and do all these moves and everything, it stuck with me, and it's stuck with me for the last 29, 30 years. And my one video playing with Scorpion and Johnny Cage and all that, it's from this guy who was there playing. I don't know who he was. I might have bumped into him again, but I have no idea. But it's because of that guy and his playthrough of the game, basically. He showed me everything. He loved beating it for me. He loved having an audience that was so enthused, which was me. But he was doing the friendships, babalities, pit fatalities. He did everything, and he beat it. And he beat it with Scorpion, and then he played again, and he did some moves with Johnny Cage, I believe. And because after he had beat it, then he'd take it easy on me and show me a few things, but he ultimately never let me win. But anyways, the tips and tricks and stuff that he did in the game. Oh, and I saw, it was the first time I saw anyone play against Jade. He ended up fighting Smoke, so he basically just opened up this game completely to me, and I loved it. And since then, I've bought an MK2. I had it for the Game Boy. I had it for the Game Gear. I had it for the Super Nintendo. I ended up having it on a Midway Classics game for the PlayStation 2. I had it on the PlayStation 3. On the PlayStation 3. Oh, the PlayStation 3 was the MK collection that they released. That was like 10 years ago or something, with MK1, 2, and Ultimate MK3. But I play it all the time. I don't know what the obsession is. Well, I think it's a great game, but I don't know why I'm so obsessed with it to this day. But anyways, again, I would love to shake the hand of the guy who was playing at that bowling alley. It's called Neb's Fun World now. It used to be called North End Bowl. So if he ever somehow watches this video and remembers, hey, I played it there, and there was this kid watching, this little, half Filipino kid watching, and he was so enthused in it. That was me. So that's my Mortal Kombat 2 story. I'll go quickly on the MK3 story, because you're probably all getting bored. But MK3, I remember the first time I saw that. The game wasn't even finished. I think it was a beta, and it was at a local laser tag place where you go and you get your guns and you shoot each other or whatever for 20 minutes in an arena. Anyways, they had a few arcade games there, and I saw Mortal Kombat 3. And I got to be honest, when I first saw it, I thought it looked good, but the whole addition of the run button and everything kind of had me wondering if, you know, if I'd have fun with it and whatnot. The fatalities didn't look as real to me. It looked more goofy and jokey and whatnot. But I mean, I ultimately ended up loving that game too. And then on that version, I remember you didn't have to do mercies or anything to do animalities. It was basically whatever friendships and babalities and finishers they put in the game. There was no there were no rules behind it, so you could block and do a friendship like it was an early version. And then I remember playing a full version at Niagara Falls. And I did a playthrough with Sindel. It must have been set to really easy or something, but I remember beating with Sindel, and so on and so on. Ultimate MK, when I saw that one, it came out, I think it came out like 6 months after MK3 came out, so it was, I remember seeing it at a movie theater pretty quickly after MK3 had already been out, so not much of a history with Ultimate MK3. I was more into just the original MK3 and MK2, and to this day, like, that's why I bought this 30th anniversary cab. I did put a new screen in it. I don't know if you could tell, but the screen that came with this was horrible, so I put a new screen in it. But the reason I bought this one wasn't so much for the online in the beginning. It was more for the original Mortal Kombat 3 because I love that game. The artwork and everything was different from Ultimate MK3, and for some reason they packaged Ultimate MK with just the legacy cab here, and then the one I had got from my PlayStation 3. They didn't focus much on the original MK3, which in my opinion is still much better. The AI is balanced, the endings graphically and everything. I find it more fun. But anyways, okay, I've kind of lost my train of thought now, but that is my story in regards to the original Mortal Kombat and why I'm so hooked on them. I mean, I'm by no means, you know, great. My record on online, I'm Bushy Stallion, by the way, so if you get playing and you see Bushy Stallion, that's me. I'm not probably in the top 15 for or the top 10 for a lot of them. At least I don't think. But my win-loss ratio against other people is average. But I still love the game. I'll play it and play it and play it. Even if I lose, I'll play and play just because I love the games. So anyways, that's my MK story, and I just figured I would tell people who are watching and whatnot a little bit about it, and hopefully, you know, maybe that person that was watching me play at North End Bowl remembers, hey, there was this kid watching me, and listen, you're the one who taught me everything about MK2, which is my favorite game of all time now. So anyways, that's it. That's my story. See you later.